commentaries is on the air. It's Halloween night, October 31st, 2023. Today we're going to be talking about Halloween Havoc, NXT. No news and notes in relation to NXT. So we're going to get right into the show. So Shotzi and Scarlett show up as Ghostbusters, which didn't last very long before their changed clothes and became, I don't know what they became, but they were playing with a Ouija board later in the show. This is when Alba Fire and Isla Dawn showed up and said there was a disturbance in the other realm and that Shotzi and Scarlett should go take care of it and they will take over the rest of the show, which they do. They become the hosts, essentially, after Shotzi and Scarlett leave. Basically, they didn't do anything, really. They just kind of lingered around backstage. And, of course, they kept talking about the Women's Tag Team Championships being cursed. This comes from the Jacy Jayne promo backstage where she is alone with Andre Chase. Jacy Jayne wants a thank you for helping them win the Tag Team Championships last week. Andre Chase said, well, you tried to cheat. We won fair and square. We won on our own. But she still expects them to return the favor and help them win tonight. But Andre Chase says, well, you guys have got to win this match on your own, fair and square. As they walk off, Tony D'Angelo pops up and says that they gotta have to get even. The D'Angelos want to get even with Andre Chase University. And then when they leave, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire starts talking about how the women's tag team titles are cursed. The women's tag team championship match was the fifth match on the show. Thea Hale and Jacy Jayne were defeated by Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Weird decision to have Thea Hale and Jacy Jayne come out to Chase University's theme, especially since all they did storyline-wise leading up to this was about Thea Hale separating herself from Chase University, only for her to end up right back in the same position. Now, they didn't change her gear. She was still dressed like a harlot, but for some reason, she came out to the Chase University theme. Now, in terms of this match, this was probably the best in-ring performance from Chelsea Green since she returned to WWE. She did a lot of good bumps. Her work with Thea Hale was pretty good in terms of taking arm drags and selling and working her character and working her gimmick. This was actually a solid tag team match, and can't really say anything negative about it in terms of a match. The finish came with Duke Hudson. He put his belt down on the ring apron to cheer on the girls, and then also to rile up the student section. Jacy Jayne sees the belt on the apron. She starts going for the belt. Andre Chase snatches the belt away from her so she wouldn't cheat. This, of course, caused a distraction. Chelsea Green hits her finish, which is the unprettier, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven win the match. So afterwards, Jacy Jayne is furious, and now we actually going to have some really good storyline development here because Jacy Jayne and Thea Hale lost, due mostly to Andre Chase. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire haunted Piper Niven and Chelsea Green after the match, basically threatening them from the mezzanine. Ought to be a very interesting story that they tried to tell here. Another story is that apparently Scarlett is going to wrestle on SmackDown, and she's going to wrestle as Shotzi's tag team partner. And apparently they're going to wrestle Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Now, I don't know how we're going to get there, but Scarlett wrestling ought to be interesting. I know she is a wrestler. She has an extensive history wrestling. But considering they're not using Karrion Kross, for them to all of a sudden start using Scarlett as a wrestler doesn't bode well, I guess you could say, for Karrion Kross. But I'm guess I have to wait and see how it's going to turn out. But I'm not against Scarlett wrestling, by the way. It's just that she has been more exposed these last 2 weeks on NXT than she has ever been, being arm candy for Karrion Kross, and it actually feeds into the old Karrion Kross is going to end up like Mark Merrow story that everybody likes to tell, because it's looking like it. But I didn't mind the women's tag team title stuff here. They're still not moving much in terms of the women's titles are cursed, but at least they haven't forgotten the storyline. They have not completely dropped it. All right. For some reason, the band was back. I have no idea why they brought the band back. We didn't need them wasting so much time. This show would end at 10 o'clock if it wasn't for this stupid music that they keep wanting to play. What is Triple H's issue in wanting him to bring live bands to NXT, especially unknown live bands, to play songs nobody's ever heard of for reasons unknown? The first match on the show, Tables, Ladders, and Scares, the Garzas versus the Creed brothers. This match was nuts. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody walked out of here with a concussion. I'm pretty sure everybody had a concussion. Julius Creed took a double gorilla press off the top rope onto a ladder, and his back looked like diaper rash. It was that bad. I was like, why on earth would you do that to yourself? There was a table spot literally 2 minutes into the match. The Garzas went through the table. And I was like, ugh, so early for starters. Secondly, they went through a table and the match continued for another 20 minutes, maybe, which kind of buried the idea of them going through tables. The Garzas did a gory bomb off the ring apron through the table of Brutus. Just an amazing amount of spots. It was just a crazy match. The Creed brothers win with the Brutus ball through the table. Just an insane match. Hella bumps for everybody. Angel probably knocked his noggin falling through a table outside the ring. It was just a very busy match. A very busy match. Probably way too much in the way of bumps. Probably way too much in the way of furniture. But this is what they wanted. And for the match to end in pinfall and submission was also kind of odd. But there's nothing for them to put, like, hang from the ring. So it is what it is. Now, some people tend to believe that this is the go-away party for the Creed brothers. I can see that. I can see this being the Creed saying their big goodbye. And them being called up to the main roster officially on a long-term basis. But we see that doesn't really work out. There's been quite a few people who have been called up, and they might have had some fire when they started, but then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, there's nothing. Looking at you, Dragon Lee. Also, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, and so many others. Cameron Grimes. There's just so many people that they've brought up from NXT to the main roster at random times, only for them to just basically be role players or slotted near the bottom of the card. And we're going to talk about somebody for some reason Triple H is in love with in a second. Well, probably not a second, but in a few minutes. But I don't want the Creed brothers to be brought in just for them to be stuck as a mid-card tag team, losing to made-up tag teams until they decide, oh yeah, they can be the champions for a short time. Then they loses the belts back to Judgment Day or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't bring them up unless you're ready to run with them long term as a serious tag team. And as a matter of fact, don't bring them up until you got a serious tag team division. Most of the tag team division in WWE, whether it's men's or women's, is absolutely abysmal. I'm talking shout, not good. Whole lot of not good. And the Creed brothers deserve quality competition. Like, I know Imperium would be a good competition. DIY would be a good competition. They also run it back with Alpha Academy. But after that, what else you got? You got 3 other teams for them to work with. Then what? Nothing. So it's one tag team title run, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in the rut. And I guess maybe you could work with the Street Profits on SmackDown, but that would be probably it. Next, Joe Gacy is backstage talking about how he's done unspeakable things. He's not asking for forgiveness. That his pain and suffering is what got him here. His peers stab at him with judgmental eyes, but he asks for no forgiveness. He knows he has darkness inside of him and that there is no strings on him now. This idea of him being Kevin Owens Wyatt, very weird. Like this amalgamation of Bray Wyatt and Kevin Owens. Look, I like Joe Gacy. I like him more than I like Kevin Owens, that's for sure. Because he's actually interesting. But if he's going to be Kevin Owens in the dark, that's not going to be fun. So I hope they have something planned for him that's actually pretty good. So Fallon Henley was supposed to wrestle Tiffany Stratton. The match didn't happen because Tiffany Stratton attacked Fallon Henley from behind, ran her knee into the ring post, and then put her in the figure 4 leg lock. And they didn't even announce that it was a no contest or that the match was thrown out or whatever. They just moved on to something else. They just quietly moved on, like, yeah, oh, poor Fallon Henley, and just moved on. But, okay, so they wanted to save this match for later. I guess they'll bring it back up. This is good for Fallon Henley. She needed a storyline. She didn't need to work a match with Tiffany Stratton and lose. She needed a story. So now she's got one. Good. The Metaphor, they did 3 haunted house segments. For starters, they came dressed up like the Scooby-Doo gang, with Lash Legend as Velma and Noam Dar as Scooby, Jakara Jackson as Daphne, and Oro Mensah as Shaggy. It was absolutely, it was very bizarre. So the story is simple. They're going into the haunted house to find Akira Tozawa and retrieve the Heritage Cup. So Jakara Jackson, who bought that action, according to her, of course is scared as she walks through the house. There's a bunch of jump scares and a bunch of other silly stuff that's going on here. Eventually they cut over to Oro Mensah, who he's scared of kids who are wearing face paint. He ends up punching a guy with a sandwich. Like, for some reason, him and Noam Dar had sandwiches. Like, they just had their, like, subs, like, tightly gripped in their hands. It was the weirdest thing in the world. But I'm guessing it's reminiscent of something that happened in Scooby-Doo. Because will be the only reason that you would explain why these guys had sandwiches in their hands this whole time. So Oro Mensah, and as he's walking through the haunted house, he stumbles across Akira Tozawa. So he actually finds Tozawa. Then he's jumped from behind by hooded figures, and Tozawa has him kidnapped. So Akira Tozawa, throughout his time in WWE, he's got ninjas. Now he's got ghouls. What is going on here? How did he have ninjas and ghouls? Why didn't he just use the ninjas in the haunted house? Are these guys ninjas in disguise? Is that what I'm supposed to be led to believe? Is that all the jump scares and the mummies and the monsters are just ninjas and like masks? Because that could be fun. And we could have just had ninjas and masks. That could have been great. Anyway. So Oro Mensah got kidnapped. Noam Dar finally finds the Heritage Cup, and he licked it to make sure it was the real thing. That's how he realized it was the real Heritage Cup, by licking it. This is absolutely ridiculous. He then is surrounded by a bunch of creeps, and then Tozawa snatched the cup from him and demanded that he wants a match for the Heritage Cup. Noam Dar said no, and then the creeps starts to attack Dar, and he said, okay, I'll give you a shot next week. So then Tozawa gives him the cut back and then still sicks all the creeps all over Noam Dar. And at this point, I'm like, bro, who's got a boner for Akira Tozawa? Is it Shawn? Is it Triple H? Is it somebody else backstage? Who has got a boner for Akira Tozawa? Look at how many people. Unless Zion Quinn is dead, or Odyssey Jones is dead, why are they not being used? And we're getting an abundance of Akira Tozawa. Akira Tozawa is going to wrestle Shinsuke Nakamura. He's going to accept Shinsuke Nakamura's open challenge on Monday. So that means I have to watch this fool wrestle on Monday and Tuesday next week? Oh, come on, man. Are you serious? This is typical Triple H. The moment he gets... Look, and it's been going on for a while. He just pushes the smallest, weirdest people. Like, of all the people you could put on your roster, for some reason you start elevating Akira Tozawa? Of all the people on your roster? Why Akira Tozawa? He barely speaks English, and everybody knows that he's a job guy. He's not going to increase business in the least bit. You could at least be pushing somebody who might be a star in the future or who might have some ability to break through in the future. You're going with Akira Tozawa? There's people on NXT I would much rather be in this position. But Triple H deciding that, Akira Tozawa, he's underutilized, so we're going to start utilizing him. So we had weeks and weeks of Shinsuke Nakamura trying to big up an opponent, only for it to be Akira Tozawa, which he don't even take seriously. And I'm like, hey, 1.3 million people watch Raw. It needs to probably get down to 1.0 before people start having conversations about why Triple H is so boring and his choices of talent that he decides to push. I've seen all these people say, oh, these shows are very exciting and the tickets are selling. I'm like, yeah, but then the TV ratings are tanking. Nobody wants to watch Akira Tozawa versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, who the hell wants to see Noam Dar wrestle Akira Tozawa? Not me. Of all the people on the main roster you could use, you choose Akira Tozawa? Man, that's booking malpractice. What a bunch of idiots. Anyway, I guess Noam Dar's got to beat somebody. This is so stupid. It's such a stupid. Like, you have so many people on your roster that's not being used, and you choose Akira Tozawa. Goofy. All right, Nathan Frazer wrestled Dominic Mysterio for the North American title. A really good match. Dominic Mysterio came out dressed as a prisoner, and Rhea Ripley was a cop. But the kinky part is that she had the keys to his handcuffs. Oi. Mommy always on top, I see. Surprised they weren't furry handcuffs. But Dominic Mysterio, it was some sloppiness to this match. I think Dominic missed a drop kick here and there. Nathan Frazer probably moving a little too fast for Dom, but in some spots. But ultimately, it was a good match. I really enjoyed it. Dominic Mysterio wins with the frog splash, of course, with a little help from Rhea Ripley. After the match, Wesley returns. Oh my God, a boring guy returns to his exact same spot. You know you ain't shit when you leave the company for 3 or 4 weeks and come back in the exact same spot. Exact same spot. Exact same spot. Not elevated. In the exact same spot. They don't care at all about Wesley. You would think Wesley would be moving up the card at the very least, but nope. He's back in the exact same spot. He attacked Dominic, and then Dominic and Rhea backed off. It was not that big of a deal, really, if we're being honest. I know some people like this guy. I do not. I find him to be quite boring. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. Braun Breaker destroyed Robert Stone, as everybody figured he would. No, I'm sorry, Braun. No bread, no water, just meat. Breaker destroyed Robert Stone. After the match, he tried to murder Robert Stone by smashing him with the steps, but Von Wagner showed up to make the save. Now, for some reason, Von Wagner can walk. He was stumbling a little bit, but the funniest thing is he still had his head wrapped. Like he took a bullet to the head or something like that. His head is still wrapped. He manages to fight off Braun Breaker, toe slam him on the steps, and then he's going to crush Braun Breaker with the stairs, only for Braun to move. And that was it. That was the end of the segment. The crowd actually cares about Von Wagner now, so they did a good job of getting people to care about this guy. Then they did a segment backstage where Von Wagner wants to fight Braun Breaker next week, but Robert Stone doesn't think that he's ready. And then he says, look, I don't care what you think. Make the match. And then, oddly enough, Boa is backstage. Like, in full gimmick, like face paint, the whole thing. I'm like, why the hell is Boa back there? Interesting decision. In terms of, we're just going to put Boa randomly in this scene. In any event, this is fine, I guess. Von Wagner couldn't walk without a walker last week. This week he can run to the ring and beat up Braun Breaker. Very weird decision, but this is wrestling. Wrestling decisions don't always make sense. They did a vignette for Lyra Valkyria, who apparently is not a character, but just like random Irish girl. The nation of Ireland celebrated both of its daughters. She was on a television show or something like that, representing Ireland. I'm like, man, I liked her better when she was like mysterious and all that kind of stuff. This idea she's just going to be like the pride of Ireland or some shit. I don't like that. But we don't know what direction they're going in yet. So I'm going to give it some time. But I like Lyra Valkyria. In any event. Out the Mud had Reggie cut a promo. Reggie said that sipping wine and talking about the circus was what he did to fit in. In St. Louis, he's always been known as Scripps. He's been shot at. He's been locked up. He's been through a lot. That the Brawling Brutes don't know a damn thing about their culture and wouldn't last a minute on their block. And while I know that his story is true, and he was a gangbanger before he joined the circus, and he was in a lot of trouble before he joined the circus, I still don't feel like he's talking with his authentic voice. In any event, he said that these two guys, Bronco Nima and Lucien Price, have reminded him who he is and got him back in touch with his roots. So I guess they're going to fight the Brawling Brutes. Like, I'm not a fan of that because that means Butch is going to be on NXT again. Again, somebody else that Triple H has decided that needs to be elevated is you need more Butch in your wrestling diet. More Tozawa and more Butch. We're craving stars here. But they say, no. More Judgment Day, more Tozawa, and more Butch. Oh my God, Triple H. For Christ's sake, no more, please. I know this is, Shawn Michaels is booking NXT. Shawn is probably getting his buttons pushed by Triple H at this point. Why would Shawn Michaels put Akira Tozawa in this goddamn match? You gotta be kidding me. You think Shawn Michaels cares about Akira Tozawa? I don't think so. Lexis King is backstage. He's talking about how he's pleased with his performances and glad that it's the name Lexis King that's on everybody's lips. Then he says, wait till you see what he does next. And then he laughs and says, wait till you see what he's already done. So he's scheming. He's up to something. But we haven't been able to figure out what it is yet. Okay. I did hear people say that he seems to be bigger, like he's bulking up. That he probably I don't know if he was taking steroids before, but maybe he's off of them and he's a little bigger than he was in AEW. He's certainly not shredded, but something tells me that he probably gained some weight in preparation for this role, and now he's got to cut it up a little bit. But he seems to be doing okay. I can't complain about his performances verbally so far. Everything else will have to fall into place. You spend years and years and years on the independents. That's not always the best school. You're learning by doing, but this is a different job. So you gotta do something a little bit different. All right, they had the Breakout Women's Championship Finals. Lola Vice defeated Kalani Jordan. Very solid match. I like Kalani Jordan. I really do. She's good. She's a good baby face. She actually knows how to get the crowd into it. She's got a little bit of fire. Not a lot, but she's got enough. The finish, of course, came via distraction with Elektra Lopez jumping on the ring apron. Kalani Jordan kicked Elektra Lopez, then went for the split leg moonsault, but nobody was home. This led to Lola Vice with a roundhouse kick, getting the pinfall win. And Kalani Jordan was very disappointed and despondent after the match. We're going to have to go through here and count how many distraction finishes was on this show, because there was at least 4. All right, there was at least 4 distraction finishes on this show. And there was like 7 matches. And one of them was a no contest. And I'm pretty sure there were distractions in at least 4 of the other matches. We'll talk about it in a second. In the main event of the evening, Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov, they went out there intent on killing each other. A slingshot DDT on the ring apron by Carmelo Hayes. An H-bomb through the announce desk by Dragunov. I mean, they were outside the ring forever at that spot. And Booker T and Vic Joseph kept talking about, referee's distraction. Referee's discretion. I'm like, bro, just get him back in the goddamn ring. Come on, man. Look, at least they're trying to make an excuse for it. But I don't like it. They're just hanging out outside the ring far too much. As Carmelo Hayes is about to hit the big finish, Trick Williams' theme song plays. So you know what that is. That's a distraction. This allows Ilya Dragunov to wake up and take advantage. Torpedo Moscow, Ilya Dragunov wins. So Trick very dramatically stares at Carmelo. He walks very, very slowly towards Carmelo, gets into the ring. He forcefully snatches Carmelo to his feet. And then the camera cuts away because Baron Corbin has attacked Ilya Dragunov behind the stage. And So we don't know what's going on with Trick and Mello. They did a good job there of teasing it. Like, oh, you thought something was about to happen? Nope, because Corbin is doing a thing. And that begs the question, why Baron Corbin? Why why are we doing anything with Baron Corbin? I get it, Dragunov needs more opponents. But Baron Corbin is not the one. It's just, no, I'm not feeling that. But they're still teasing whether Mello and Trick are on opposite sides. Carmelo Hayes was wearing a shirt that says Justice for Trick. But Trick cost him that match and grabbed him like he was about to do something to him. But they, of course, are just teasing that Carmelo Hayes might have been the guy who attacked Trick Williams. But if he wasn't, why did Trick Williams help Dragunov win? I don't know. They're going to have to explain that somehow. Even if it was inadvertent, you're going to have to explain it somehow. Okay. The main event was very good. Hard-hitting match. These two guys worked very well together. Good chemistry between the two, and plus Dragunov is willing to pretty much die for a wrestling match. He's as close to UFC, especially the early days of UFC, as you're going to get. Him and Gunther, they bring such physicality, such passion to the match that you can't, even if you not a big fan of work rate, you can get into it. And that's what you need. You need, your Benoits and your Malenkos, your guys who can get people into the heavier elements of wrestling. But of course, they still have their WWE drama too, so it helps the story. It helps people care about the match. I don't know if everybody expected Trick Williams to show up tonight, but he did, so that's fine. But you have a lot of creepy heels like Joe Gacy and Lexis King that apparently are up to no good. And I'm thinking, all right, there's some guys out there that you could blame, even if it's temporarily, like a hired gun kicked him in the back of the head or hit him with something, that you could do that storyline for a little while. But I'm very interested in how they're going to continue this story between Trick and Mello. All right, let's talk about these distractions, because Nathan Frazer versus Dominic Mysterio had a distraction. The Women's Tag Team Championship match had a distraction. Lola Vice and Kalani Jordan had a distraction. And Carmelo Hayes versus Ilya Dragunov had a distraction. Of the 7 matches, 4 had distractions. One of them was a squash match. The other one was a no contest. And the first match was no holds barred anyway. So WWE's over-reliance on distractions, random music playing, person who shouldn't be at ringside getting involved in the match, it is too much. All right. For Dominic Mysterio, okay. For Dominic, you could do a distraction. It makes sense. It makes sense in terms of the story for the women's tag team titles for there to be a distraction. But for the main event, you didn't need Trick Williams to come out there and distract Carmelo Hayes. You didn't need for that to happen. You only caused storyline turmoil that way. Because if Carmelo isn't going to be the guy who attacked Trick Williams, then why did Trick Williams help Ilya Dragunov win? Next, there did not need to be a distraction at all in the women's breakout tournament match. Lola Vice probably would have gotten more over if she'd have won on her own. But I get why they did it. They did it to protect Kalani Jordan, and they think that these distractions protect people. When in reality, when there's so many distractions on one show, that you really just bury your referees and you bury your general managers. Because now you're thinking that these people obviously are not paying attention. How is it that these folks, the same people too, every week, keep doing the same stuff and nobody does anything? Do you remember when they did the Power of the Punch with William Regal? All of a sudden, the referees started getting smart. They started, checking them for brass knuckles, and he had to hide them in different places. So he'll be hide them under the ring, or trying to hide them in his boots, and they eventually will find them and take them. That's the kind of stuff that you need to be doing. You need to say, okay, these people are cheaters. They're routine cheaters. And because you just need to freshen up the product a little bit, you start sending people to the back, you know? Like, oh no, Rhea Ripley gets caught and then she gets ejected from the show. You know, it's okay for her to be out there. It's okay for you to do the whole Rhea Ripley wants to try to help Dominic win. But the days of bad guys getting caught cheating and then getting ejected need to come back. All right? That shit needs to be brought back. The idea that the bad guys can just be out there forever, constantly distracting the referees, and then every show has a general manager and nobody is going to deal with this problem. It's like, we knew how to handle this 15 years ago, 20 years ago, or whatever. You start ejecting people. It's a big pop, and it forces the heel to try to fight by themselves. And then the heel can cheat. What happened? Like, good old-fashioned foot on the ropes, pulling the tights, eye pokes, hitting the nuts, whatever. Do something different. I'm so tired of random music playing. Oh, Rhea Ripley got on the ring apron, and she distracted the referee, or she did this or she did that. Like, come on. It's too much of this at this point. You know, let's go back to old-fashioned cheating. Somebody throw some salt in somebody's eyes, or, you know, eye rakes and, you know, that kind of stuff. This constantly with the distraction roll-ups and the distraction cheating, it's pathetic. It's boring as hell booking. I wish they would stop it. But they're not going to, because not enough people give a shit. They're too busy licking Triple H's nose. I don't care about Triple H. NXT is still my favorite show to watch, despite the fact that sometimes it pisses me off, and the distractions absolutely piss me off. But it was a very fun show. Even the haunted house stuff, which I wasn't a big fan of, I found some humor in it when Tozawa had Oro Mensah kidnapped. I thought that was at least humorous. Got a big kick out of the women's tag team title match. I liked it more than I thought I would. The tables, ladders, and scares match was excellent. The main event was also excellent. You know, even little things that I don't like turned up roses. So NXT continues to be an excellent show. My favorite show of the week. You know, so let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later.